Samurai Shodown, known in Japan as Samurai Spirits, is a fighting game developed and published by SNK for the NEO GEO arcade and home platform. Released in 1993, it is the first installment in the Samurai Shodown series. In contrast to most fighting games at the time, which were set in the modern age and focused primarily on hand-to-hand combat, Samurai Shodown takes place in feudal-era Japan, similar to Kaneko's Shogun Warriors that was released the year prior. It was SNK's first arcade fighting game to focus primarily on weapon-based combat. Samurai Shodown was a commercial success, becoming Japan's sixth highest-grossing arcade game of 1993 and one of America's top 5 highest-grossing arcade conversion kits of 1994. It won several Game of the Year awards from Games, Electronic Gaming Monthly, and the European Computer Trade Show. Samurai Shodown then appeared on other platforms including the Takara-published Super NES, Sega Genesis, Game Boy, and Game Gear versions in 1994. It has since been re-released for various modern platforms as part of the SNK Arcade Classics Volume 1 of 2008, Samurai Shodown Anthology of 2008, and Samurai Shodown NEO GEO Collection 2020 compilations, the ACA NEO GEO series, and on the Wii Virtual Console. Gameplay. The game is set in the late 1780s and all the characters wield weapons. The game uses music from the time period with sounds of traditional Japanese instruments such as the shakuhachi and the shamisen. A refined version of the camera zoom first found in Art of Fighting is used in Samurai Shodown. The game includes the portrayal of blood. The game became renowned for its fast pace. Focusing more on quick, powerful strikes than combos, the slow motion was added to intensify the damage dealt from hard hits. During a match, a referee holds flags representing each player. Player 1 is white, player 2 is red. When a player lands a successful hit, the referee lifts the corresponding flag, indicating who dealt the blow. A delivery man occasionally appears in the background and throws items such as bombs or health-restoring chicken, which can change the outcome. Plot of game. Shohiro Tokasada Amakusa, slain in Japan of 1638 by the forces of the Tokugawa shogunate for his part in the Shambara Rebellion, was resurrected in 1787 as an Akuma from making a deal with the dark god Ambrosia by bringing the evil entity into the world with the Palinki Stone and its energy. Driven by hatred for the shogunate and having a nihilistic streak towards the world, he unleashes his dark powers to bring chaos to all of existence in 1788. A variety of warriors, some historic, some fictional, converge upon the source of the chaos, each driven by their own reasons. Harumaru, a wandering samurai who is searching for strong opponents to hone his skills. Nakaruru, a young girl aided by her pet eagle, Mahamama, who strives to protect nature. Ukyo Tachibana, an alien samurai warrior who's fighting to gain a flower for his beloved, Kei Odogiri. Charlotte Christine de Colde, a French noblewoman who vows to protect France from Amakusa's evil. Galfer D. Weller, an American who traveled to Japan to become a ninja. He is aided by his pet dog, Poppy. Jubi Yagyu, a Ronin who strives to protect Japan from its enemies. Earthquake, a large Texan thief who studied the art of ninjutsu. He wishes to steal as much treasure as he can. Hanzo Hattori, an Inga ninja who fights to save his son Shinzo from Amakasu's control. Koyoshiro Senroi, a kabuki performer who uses his art to entertain and perfect his own fighting skills. Tam Tam, a warrior from the Mayan city of Green Hell, charged with retrieving the stolen Palinki Stone back from the Amakusa. Wan Fu, a warrior from China serving the Qing Empire. He searches Japan for worthy fighters to help him unify his homeland. Genao Sharanau, a member of the Sharanau clan, killing anyone who gets in his way as he progresses through the path of evil. Non-playable characters that appear are Kuroku, a man dressed in all black who judges each match during the game, and Hikayaku, a delivering man working for Amakasu who disrupts fights. Game development. Samurai Shodown evolved from what was originally planned to be a traditional side-scrolling beat-em-up, featuring monsters as the dark heroes, similar to Data Eat's Knife Slashers. However, after considering what would sell to a global audience, series creator and director Yasushi Adachi decided that a fighting game with distinctly Japanese characters such as samurai and ninjas would do better. The only holdover from the original concept was Genonao Shiranayu, the hunchback claw-handed creature that was inspired by Adachi's interest in Tim Burton's Edward Scissorhands. The programming team for Samurai Shodown consisted of a combination of veteran SNK programmers and former Capcom employees. The idea to spell the English title as Showdown without a W rather than Showdown with a W came from SNK's US distributor. They felt the Japanese title Samurai Spirits did not adequately explain the game, and believed that spelling could play a role on the word Shogun, based on the lingering popularity of the Shogun miniseries. Releases. The NEO GEO AES version of the game was released for the Wii Virtual Console on October 16, 2007 in Japan, May 30, 2008 in Europe, and June 16, 2008 in North America. However, before the Virtual Console version was released in North America, the game was released as part of SNK Arcade Classics Volume 1. Mostly due to the negative publicity surrounding the use of violence in video games, the game was edited when it was first released for the AES, as it featured blood and graphic fatal attacks that kill opponents by slicing them in half. As a result, it was decided to censor the game for most platforms by changing the blood from red to white and disabling the fatal attack animations. The win quotes were also censored, and references to death or blood were altered. In the Super NES version, the blood was recolored orange and the fatal attacks were removed. The 3DO version was first released in 1994 in North America, then in Japan and Europe the following year, with all blood and fatality graphics intact. As a result, some retailers did not carry this edition of the game. The censoring of the NEO GEO console version was unusual in that it was tied to the specific system. For instance, a North American cartridge running on a North American NEO GEO would display white sweat, but the same cartridge, when plugged into a Japanese NEO GEO, would run the uncensored game with blood. NEO GEO console modifications would enable users to set the system's region to Japan or play in arcade mode, either of which would cause the game to be played with all the blood and death animations intact, even on a North American PAL console. Version differences. In addition to the NEO GEO system, the AES Samurai Shodown was ported to multiple other platforms, including the Super NES, Game Boy, Mega Drive/Genesis, Game Gear, Sega CD, Sega Saturn, 3DO, FM Towns, PlayStation, and PlayStation 2. All of the cartridge versions were handled by Takara, while Crystal Dynamics ported the 3DO version, and Funcom handled the Sega CD port. The Mega Drive, Genesis, and CD versions omit the character Earthquake and his stage. Both versions lack the camera zoom, and the camera is locked in a close zoom. This gives better detail to the characters, but the fighting area is smaller. In addition, some attacks were altered or removed entirely from the Mega Drive Genesis version of the game. The final boss is playable in the 2-player mode without the use of a code. The Mega Drive Genesis version lacks the arcade introduction, instead showing the arcade version's text with no background, graphics, or speech. The character artwork shown after beating an opponent is also missing, and portions of some characters' endings are not present. The announcer no longer says the names of the characters before a fight or after winning a fight. The Sega CD version retains the arcade introduction and is only missing portions of some characters' endings. The Sega CD version also includes the attacks that were removed or altered in the Mega Drive Genesis version, and the music is the same as the arcade version. The SNES version has the character lineup intact, but with the camera zoomed out, which makes the character sprites smaller compared to other ports. This version has all the stages from the arcade version, and they are less restricted compared to the Mega Drive Genesis and Sega CD ports. This version also supports Dolby Surround sound. The SNES version includes the arcade intro sequence, although the voice accompanying the text is missing. The character artwork shown after beating an opponent is present, as are the arcade endings. The announcer, like the Sega CD version, says the names of the characters before a fight and after winning a fight. The SNES version has no blood, being replaced by sweat. An exclusive mode, Countdown, is included in this port. Players can use the final boss in 2-player mode with a secret code. The Game Boy version includes all the characters, stages, and most of the special moves, but has no combos, fatalities, or voices. All the music tracks are included, albeit in scaled-down form. The Game Gear port offered only 9 fighting characters to choose from: Jen-An, Galford, Haramaru, Oikyo, Charlotte, Nakaruru, Jubai, Hanzo, and Kiroshiro, while the original SNK Arcades version offered 12. Unlike most early home versions, the 3DO version includes the camera zoom, as well as all the characters, special moves, and fatalities. Reception: NEO GEO. In Japan, Game Machine listed Samurai Spirits on their August 15, 1993 issue as being the most popular table arcade game at the time. It went on to be Japan's 6th highest grossing arcade game of 1993. In North America, Replay reported Samurai Shodown to be the most popular arcade software kit for 4 months in 1993, from August to October, and then again in November. Playmeter listed it as America's 3rd most popular arcade game in October 1993. It went on to be one of America's top 5 highest grossing arcade conversion kits of 1994. In February 1994, issue of Games T magazine in Japan, Samurai Shodown was awarded Best Game of 1993 in the 7th Annual Games Grand Prize, as well as being the first to win in the category of Best Fighting Game. Street Fighter II Dash, the previous game of the year, won as Best Action Game. Samurai Shodown also placed first in Best VGM, Best Album, and Best Direction, and second place in Best Graphics. In the Best Characters list, Nakaruru placed at number 1, Haramaru at number 6, Jubai Yagyu at number 8, a tie between Oikyo Tachibana, Galford, and Poppy at number 11, Charlotte at number 16, tied with Duck King from Fatal Fury Special, Kuroko at number 18, Tam Tam and Hanzo Hattori tied for number 22, Jen Asuranu at number 29, and Wan Fu tied at number 45 with 5 other characters. Samurai Shodown won multiple awards from Electronic Gaming Monthly in their 1993 Video Game Awards, including Best NEO GEO Game, Best Fighting Game, and Game of the Year. It was awarded Game of the Year at the April 1994 European Computer Trade Show. In 1997, Electronic Gaming Monthly listed the NEO GEO AES version as number 99 on their 100 best games of all time, citing the solid fighting engine, realistic use of blood, and easy-to-execute moves. Ports of the game. Famicom Shushin gave the Super Famicom version an 8 out of 10 in their Reader Cross review. Electronic Gaming Monthly gave the Super NES version a 37 out of 50, commenting that despite the lack of scaling, it is still a very good port. GamePro considered the Genesis version to be superior to the Super NES version, citing the Genesis version's better scale, zoomed in versus the zoomed out graphics of the Super NES version, and the awkward controller configuration on the Super NES version. They held the Game Boy version to be surprisingly good given the hardware, but ultimately unsatisfying, and concluded that hardcore fans should pass on even the Genesis version in favor of the upcoming 3DO and Sega CD versions. Next Generation reviewed the Genesis version of the game, rating it 3 stars out of 5, and stated that the fans of the arcade game won't be disappointed with this solid translation, complete with blood and all the varied endings of the game. Famicom Shushin scored the 3DO version of the game a 25 out of 40. Electronic Gaming Monthly scored the 3DO version 38 out of 50, calling it a very faithful home version of the arcade fighter. A reviewer for Next Generation remarked that the 3DO conversion is nearly identical to the arcade version, much more faithful than the previous SNES, Genesis, and Sega CD versions. The load time between rounds is noticeable, but acceptable. He gave it 3 out of 5 stars. GamePro praised the general gameplay, but criticized the quality of the conversion, complaining that the scaling is not as smooth as the arcade version. The animations are slower, the load times are interminable long, and the gameplay is crippled by a poor control configuration, which the player is not given the option to change. GamePro named the Sega CD port the best Sega CD game at the 1994 Consumer Electronics Show. The eventual review, however, was largely mixed. They criticized the slowdown, lack of scaling, frequent load times, and low quality reproduction of the arcade version sounds, and added that since Samurai Shodown was by then a 3-year-old game, it made the Sega CD version's faults stand out more. Electronic Gaming Monthly scored it 30 out of 40 and declared it the best conversion of the game that made the NEO GEO the system of choice for fighting games. They praised the accurate graphics, short load times, and ease of pulling off special moves. In 2018, Complex rated Samurai Shodown 40th on their best Super Nintendo games of all time. They praised the graphics, controls, and said everything is on point in the game. In 1995, Flex Magazine listed Samurai Shodown 80th in their top 100 video games. In 1996, Superplay named the game 99th on its top 100 SNES games of all time. Legacy. 3 anime adaptations based on the game have been made. Samurai Spirits Haten Gomo no Sho in 1994, which is a full-length film. Samurai Spirits 2 Asura Zanmaden in 1999, with 2 episodes, and Nakuru Anahito Koro Noko Omorano in 2002, 1 episode, OVA. All information in the video today was provided by Wikipedia.